The injured reserve is becoming quite lengthy for the St. Louis Blues as the season progresses. Another injury, another 1-2 week, and a lot to get into, especially on the Philip Broberg side of things. Welcome in to another edition of the Blues Breakdown Podcast. My name is Clay Herrell, and obviously the story of the week is the Philip Broberg injury. Just like I mentioned, he goes down in the second period of the game against Toronto on Saturday night. With this episode specifically, I didn't want to jump on here and maybe doomsday scenario everything, because I think everybody was in agreement that injury looked brutal for Broberg. I thought torn ACL and he was out for the year, so I didn't want to hop on and record on these Sunday like I usually do, and then talk all this stuff about how it might be an ACL, the season's over, blah blah blah, his season's over. Wanted to wait. We get the news on Monday. Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic reporting that it's a lower body injury. He's only going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. To me, it feels like it lines up right when Thomas comes back, so hopefully this team can just kind of stay afloat. We get Broberg and Thomas back in the middle of December and maybe be able to really go on a good run. And then I went to record Monday, but I wasn't feeling well, so figured it wouldn't be good to come on here sounding, pretty sick. So I just decided record this at 1:30 here on a Tuesday, the afternoon before the Blues take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we'll get into this week's matchup. We'll get into the Broberg injury as well when we get to the Toronto game. I guess you could start with that Ottawa game. They lose 8-1, but I don't know what you can really say that hasn't been said already about that. It was a beatdown. It was an ugly game, and it's the story. They fell behind early, and it was insurmountable. You just can't have that happen in these games. You can't be going down by 1-2, and in this case, they obviously lose by 7 goals. But you just can't go down in these games. It's not something that is sustainable. In that game, they go down 3. Where they go down 4-0. I think they end up being down 5-0, 6-0. I'm scrolling through. It was literally 7-0 exactly before they even scored a goal. So that was one I tried to quickly forget. And then they go into the game Thursday against Philly, and once again, you fall behind early. In that time, it was just a 1-0 lead, and credit to the Blues. It took them till the third period to get the equalizer, and it was Nathan Walker that tied it at 1-1. But you just can't go down in games. You can't be playing from behind. It worked for you opening night. You go down 2 to Seattle. You find a way to overcome that in the second period late, go up 3-2, win the game. You went on 4-1 to San Jose. You went in overtime. And then it hasn't really been there. You've been down 1-0, and that's whatever. But I just feel like, and I shouldn't even say this like it's a controversial thing, because I think anybody that watches hockey is smart enough to know you can't fall behind in games and expect to be a good hockey team and expect comebacks to be sustainable, because it's simple. They're not. They're just not sustainable. And another thing that's really been biting the Blues as of late is after Nathan Walker ties that game at 1, late in the third, a Jordan Kyrou turnover leads to the game-winning goal for the Flyers, and it was Bobby Brink that got the game winner after a Kyrou turnover. And it's these turnovers in the neutral zone and the offensive zone, they seem to just be piling up, and when they're piling up, it feels like the puck is always ending up in the back of their net. And that's something that's got to be fixed as well. To me, that's the two biggest things. You got to stop falling behind in games, and you have to stop turning the puck over in your own zone. And if you turn the puck over in your own zone, you got to bust back to get back into that play, because you just can't have an odd man rush going the other way right after you turn over the puck and waste probably what would have been a pretty good scoring chance. So that's been a huge issue this year for the Blues. There are tons of ozone turnovers, and it seems like a lot of the time it's ending up in their own net. But really, what I'm impressed with is they've managed to beat Toronto now twice without Robert Thomas. Philip Broberg goes down in that second period. They bounce back 4-2 win on Saturday. 5-game homestand kicking off. This could be huge for momentum. As I mentioned, they play Tampa Bay here tonight, time of recording on Tuesday. But the falling behind trend, it happened again on Saturday. Mitch Marner kind of goes unmarked in front of the net, cleans up a rebound to make it 1-0 Toronto. And the Blues didn't get a response until the second period, and it felt like Colton Parayko just put the team on his back. He ties the game at 1 with a power play goal. And then Kyrou, who's had some really good looks and maybe been kind of under the microscope a bit with the fan base, he finally gets the monkey off his back. He gets a very lucky goal that just kind of bounces in off the defenseman. The Blues go up 2-1. And then Parayko again a bomb on as the power play expired to give the Blues a 3-1 lead. And then Booch with the empty netter after it was 3-2 makes it 4-2. Blues win and Berube's return back to St. Louis. Fun game, though. I was at Enterprise on Saturday night. I'll be there tonight as well for the game against Tampa Bay. Side note, I have a list going right now. My goal is to see the Blues play every team. And so far, I have 8 teams left, or I have 9 teams left. Tonight, I will be checking off the Tampa Bay Lightning and going down to 8 teams left to see the Blues play. So yeah, I like trying to get all this done, and like I'm down to the Oilers, Canadians, Flames, Panthers, Devils, Canucks, Red Wings, and then the Utah Hockey Club. I'm counting them, even though I've technically seen Arizona play. Since they're telling us Utah's a new franchise, we'll throw them on the list. But being an Enterprise Saturday, that was one of the best non-playoff atmospheres at a Blues game that I think maybe I've ever been in. It was electric from the Brenden Shin fight pretty early in that game, and I guess in hindsight I should have seen it coming because I was there with my fiance and we were like, it was whenever the Shin fight happened off that draw, it was Holloway had gotten tossed from the draw. And Kyrou goes into the circle, and I'm like, why is Kyrou going in? Shen's the natural centerman here. Like, why is Kyrou taking this draw now? Well, it clearly didn't matter. The puck dropped, and the gloves were off between Shen and McCabe, and he fed him some quick punches and dropped McCabe pretty quickly. And it just, like, the Blues didn't respond right away. I mean, obviously, Toronto ended up taking the lead after that fight. But it injected some life into the crowd. I think it kind of, fueled a little bit more of the animosity that you saw throughout the game. You saw... I'll get to the Buchnevich fight, but you saw neighbors get into it a couple times. Suter cleared Marner off the front of the net with maybe a little bit of a tackle. Matthews didn't like that. He comes in and drops Suter with the cross check. He gets Matthews goes to the box for that. You got on that power play. You got neighbors just feeding Holmberg, who I think from what I read, again, I wasn't watching on TV, I didn't get to catch any of the replays, but I saw people saying that Neighbors and Booch going after Holmberg ended up being, they should have been going after McCabe, I guess, who drug Neighbors down entering the zone on that power play. And once Holmberg fell down in front of Neighbors, he just kind of started feeding him cross checks, which kind of stirred things up. And then Booch out of nowhere forces Holmberg into that fight. And that was just, the atmosphere was incredible. I thought it was a great night at Enterprise Center. A fun environment. The Blues got a win. The Berube tribute was excellent. Starting that video with the Game 7 speech, it's like as soon as that came on, I think everybody knew exactly what that was from. Like, you didn't have to think, what is it? Like, what game is this? Like, it was evident right away. Oh, this is the Game 7, speech, and it's been kind of immortalized in St. Louis history, that clip of that speech. And to see Chief get the recognition and the ovation that he deserved, was really, really cool to see. And you could just see, even like the Blues put out that video after him kind of smiling at certain parts of that video. It was really cool. Glad the Blues got the win, obviously, but it was cool to see Craig Berube back in St. Louis and getting the ovation and the recognition he deserved, because he did incredible things for this franchise. And obviously we wish him the best of luck in Toronto. But looking, the Broberg injury, like I said, if you follow me on Twitter, I was like doom tweeting at that point. Like, it looked really bad. I don't know how we avoided a season-ending injury with Philip Broberg, but we will take just 4 to 6 weeks. Let him get back healthy. And Drew Bannister even said too, like, this is probably good news with the way it looked. He said, made the comment that the player, aka Broberg, was happy with the prognosis of kind of everything as well. So makes you feel like they probably had a thought that maybe wasn't going to be very good. Even some of the quotes after Parayko made it seem like maybe he didn't think it was going to be great. So for that news to come out, kind of gave everybody a sigh of relief. He'll be back. He's looked really, really, really good this season. It's kind of insane how good he's looked. So glad we'll get to see more of him. Some other things I just had written down. I just kind of have been, as the week goes on, I write down certain notes just as I prepare for these episodes. And one of them I written down is, prior to that game against Philly, Binnington hasn't looked like himself, I thought, for a decent chunk of the year, but I thought that game against Philly was big. I know they lost 2-1, but he made some really big saves in that game, and I don't think there's anything in that game that you point to and you're like, okay, he has to stop that, or something that directly leads to it just being his fault. So I think that game maybe with some comments, and then he steps in again against Toronto and just looked incredible once again. A team that is going to pepper you with shots. You're gonna see a lot of traffic in front of the net. And to me, and it might not even seem like a big play to anybody else, but to me, what maybe showed that he was really locked in for that game was right off the opening draw. Matthews, I think like literally 13 seconds into the game, gets a pretty good chance coming down the left wing. I guess it would be Binnington's right wing, but from where I was, it was the left wing. And he gets a good shot on him. Binnington makes the save. So to me, it right away, it looked like he was pretty engaged from the start. I have a feeling, and I think what helps this feeling too is that Doug Armstrong is obviously the Team Canada general manager. I really think that he will be the goalie for Team Canada, and I know Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney, I think, both agreed with that on the Spit and Chicklets podcast. I would love to see Benner get the start for Team Canada. Obviously, we'll probably be pulling for Team USA, but I'm just excited for that Four Nations face-off coming up. I think puck drop for that is less than 100 days away, so exciting stuff. Other thought that I had throughout the week, it's pretty evident at the center spot, at least, that the Blues are feeling the loss of Thomas. Obviously, I don't think that's a surprise. I have to wonder, and let me know what you all think in the comments, if and when do you give Dvorsky a look? They need another guy to come up and play center. I mean, Dvorsky's playing really well. He's got 5 goals in Springfield. I can't remember who tweeted it, and I apologize for that, but somebody was tweeting about Springfield's not off to a very good start record-wise. So it makes you wonder, like, would getting Dvorsky up here in a competitive environment, a positive environment, a team that's playing pretty well for kind of the injuries and stuff they suffered, would that even benefit him more and give him a look? I would love to see Dalibor Dvorsky get a look. Even if it's just, until Thomas comes back, maybe he can play his way into a role. Because right now it's just like you're juggling with Shen, with Holloway, and then Foxa, and then Sundqvist, and then Texier. And, you just need to get some stability down the middle, and I think Dvorsky could give you that. Even if he doesn't look perfect, and there's going to be growing pains when the kid gets up here and starts to play. I think you maybe try to get going on that sooner rather than later and see what you have in a real NHL environment. Obviously, he did play in the preseason, but I think getting him into some NHL games that count would be important, and I think it could benefit the Blues here as they continue waiting for Thomas to get back into the lineup. With Broberg being out, though, Perunovic is going to draw in, it looks like, tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's really not a surprise. There was a hole there on the left side, so Perunovic will draw in. Looked like from practice yesterday, it was Suter Parayko, as always, and then P.O. Joseph bumps up with Justin Falk, and then Perunovic and Kessel, which that does concern me because those two did not look very good in Philadelphia when they played together. They didn't. I think it was Perunovic and P.O. Joseph against Toronto, but Perunovic and Kessel, that one kind of concerns me a little bit, but hopefully hiding them on your third pair, maybe not that big of an issue. And also for Perunovic, this is an opportunity not only to prove yourself as, on the defensive side of the thing, but Broberg was running that first power play. I assume Falk will jump back up there now. And then that'll open it up for Perunovic on that second power play. So maybe a chance for him to show that, hey, I can quarterback a power play. And with that, I don't think this is about him, maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. It's like, I don't think this is him playing to prove anything to the Blues. I don't think there's a future here with everybody healthy because I think as soon as Nick Leddy is good to go, they've already said he'll go right back in. And to me, you're Perunovic, if you're the Blues, you're Doug Armstrong, you're Drew Bannister, you're just hoping that he can play well enough to just give his stock a little bit of a bump. Whether that's to, maybe make a 7th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, or whatever it is. Just hoping that he improves his stock a little bit. I know a lot of people here still think there's a future for Perunovic. I'm not on that boat personally, but that's just me. And so, yeah, I think he gets in until Letty's back, and then you'll kind of have to see where they go from there. But the way things are going, injuries seem to be really hitting the Blues right now, so a lot can happen between then and when Nick Leddy gets back. Other notes that I have, the Blues' second power play unit, especially Saturday against Toronto, has really, really impressed me. I think they're doing a lot of the things the first unit hasn't been doing, and that's a lot of strong. They're really doing a good job of getting the puck into the zone. They're not afraid to just chip it in and go. I feel like with that first unit, there's a lot of Kyrou or neighbors trying to find their way into the zone, and you're turning it over a lot at the line. But I like that the second unit isn't afraid, and it's Holloway, it's Texier, Sundqvist. They're not afraid to throw that puck in deep and just go chase it and then set up from there. They're making quick passes as well, and I feel like they're doing a really good job of getting pucks on net. I think eventually you're going to see those results start to pile up for that unit. But yeah, I think that they've done a really, really good job of that second unit specifically, and hopefully the first unit can find it as well. I think tonight will be a fun game against the Lightning, so let's go ahead and get to that. Obviously, I don't know exactly when those will be posted, but playing the Lightning tonight, Braden Point is out, though. It's been reported. John Cooper said at morning skate, undisclosed, but he will be out. So, a game that I think, again, the Blues probably have to win. I haven't seen if Andrei Vasilevsky will start or not, but I'm assuming that he will be in net just because Tampa, I don't think, played. So, yeah, he will be in net, and he is actually, we just looked his name up on Twitter while I'm recording here. He has a chance tonight to become the fastest goaltender in NHL history to reach 300 wins if he can beat the St. Louis Blues here on Tuesday night. But I hope the Blues can get it done. It's a tough test. You're facing one of the best goalies in the world. and Vasilevsky. So this is one of those measuring stick games again, and it's again, you're without Robert Thomas, you're without Philip Broberg. So obviously, temper your expectations accordingly, but it would be nice to see the Blues put up a good performance against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then on Thursday, the Utah Hockey Club, a team that I think come March and April, you're going to be looking at these matchups and say, did we squander points against this team and let them bump ahead of us in a wild card spot or a spot for the playoffs by getting in the top 3 in the division? I think these are the games, especially Thursday, you have got to take care of business against Central Division opponents. It hasn't been pretty this year, and you have to get started on the right foot on Thursday. And then Saturday, Mr. Alex Ovechkin comes to town as the Capitals will take on the Blues in St. Louis. And I believe that's probably it's another 6 o'clock game. So shout out to the Blues for that, by the way, because these 6 o'clock homestand, like Saturday weekend games, are perfect. I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, you get the Capitals to wrap up this week on Saturday. The homestand will wrap up a week from the 5th, the 12th. Against the Boston Bruins. I'm expecting probably a pretty good crowd turnout for that as well. But yeah, a 5-game homestand, a chance to take advantage of this, pick up some points on some teams, and then you hit the road for 3. You'll hit Buffalo, Boston, Carolina, but that's all for future episodes. Obviously, we're for this week, we're focusing on Tampa, Utah, Washington, and we'll break those 3 down coming into next week. But let me know in the comments. I'm curious, a couple things actually, and if you want to answer all of them, one of them, what were your thoughts when Broberg went down? Are you happy you don't ever want to see a guy hurt? Let me obviously preface with that. But all things considered, what it looked like, what maybe everybody thought it was, I feel like you have to be happy with the prognosis and what that looks like. I'm assuming, let me know what you think. And then let me know what you think about Dvorsky. Is it time for the Blues to give him a look? I'm on the train that I think it might be time just to help get some stability down the middle. But I'm curious what you guys think. And it's another big week ahead for the Blues. I appreciate you all for listening. Again, thanks to Brenden Schaeffer. I try to say it as often as I can for letting me use this platform and getting to reach you all. And I know hockey is pretty exciting around here. Especially with what the Blues have been doing. And, I know Brendan's going to be having a lot of Cardinals offseason coverage coming. So, just thank you all for listening. Another big week, like I said, for the Blues. We got Tampa, Utah, and Washington all at Enterprise Center. And let's go Blues.